If you're watching this, I can make a few assumptions. You're just like me, you're a huge comic book fan. You probably don't just read them, but you also collect them, store them, occasionally even grade them. You're probably also engaged online. You're at least on social media, so no doubt you've heard about these guys. This is Comic Capsule. Has Comic Capsule changed everything for collectors? I've avoided every review or glow up that I've seen online about these as best I could, so that I could give a fair and honest, unbiased look at these. How well do they stack up against the tried and true top loader, and even properly graded slabs? Bought a few of them, so let's start there with the unboxing and some initial thoughts. Before we get to that, we are approaching a subscriber goal, so I'll be running a giveaway for one of these comic capsules, and I'll even include a cool comic. Okay, so I have written and recorded, then rewritten and re-recorded this a few times, and you'll see why. Essentially, my first comic capsule package arrived and I was ready to go. I'll play the video of the initial unboxing over here, or maybe on top, so you can see for yourself. It was great until I noticed that one of the slabs was broken. Bad first impression for Comic Capsule. I continued ahead a little bit to finish looking at these first cases and also started writing my first impressions, and I recorded that bit, which you can see. That night, I sent an email to Comic Capsule to notify them of the damage. While I slept, they responded to the email, and it had clearly gone around internally. They had a response, promised a new case to be shipped the new case, and sent me the tracking number, all by the time I woke up and checked my phone the next morning. I was pretty impressed. The next day, I set about testing the cases that I did have, which were in good order. Then, again, as you see here, another of these slabs broke in my hand while I was testing it. Bad news again for Comic Capsule. So again, I emailed them, and again, I wrote some more impression about my experience so far. I even started filming a bit. Again, I got another email promptly replacing my broken slab, and even including a second slab to make up for all the trouble I was having. So I have to say, if nothing else, their customer service has been pretty great. Now, this is what I've gotten back from them. So this one is the black one. Let's see. So far so good. Everything seems fine. And they replaced my clear one, which the edge broke. And this one seems perfectly fine. And they sent me one for free to make up for all the trouble. So there we go. And this one also looks fine. So let's get into the actual test of these. We'll put some comics in them and see how it goes. And you'll get the full review breakdown of Comic Capsule. First off, the design of these. When I first unboxed these, I was pretty underwhelmed. Nothing about these seemed high-tech or revolutionary. However, we're talking about a way to protect your books first and display them second. The first time pressing on that hinge in the unboxing and my initial impression was kind of like, so what? We'll get to the quality in a second. But honestly, I gotta say, once you slide your comic in, more so when you do it a few times, I really appreciate the design here. It's simple, but it just works. It's not fancy, no screws, no bolts, just this header that clicks into place on these connectors. It's simple, and it works. And it works kind of the way you want it to without any fuss. I would guess a lot of thought and trial and error went into this, but honestly, it seems like it was just too easy. But that's kind of the thing. When something just works the way you expect it, it's kind of like, why hasn't anybody done this before? I think the books fit well, and if you have the right bags and boards, if I were to use these, I would need to invest in a number of these and bags and boards to fit. Because I generally use regular / silver size, they don't actually fit into these cases. It needs to be modern bags and boards. So I think I understand why they sized it this way. They want it to be sleek and not too wide or bulky, but it's kind of annoying if you don't already use this size. Now, they say that they also fit Silver Age, and clearly they do, but without a bag or board. I knew the board wasn't going to work after the modern book, and even with just the bag, it wouldn't fit for any of the silver books that I have. I was actually really annoyed. This case on your silver books is only one line of protection, and that's not necessarily good or bad. it is what it is. It depends how confident you are in these comic capsules. I'm not a huge fan of how the book can slide up and down. The silver fit pretty tightly, but with the modern books, depending how tight your board is inside the case, there is room for it to slide around a little bit. The space is just maybe too much, top to bottom, for modern books. Just don't jostle your books around. I did find it kind of infuriating that if my board on one of my modern books was too big, it wouldn't fit. I also have a problem if you're using it for something like a Silver Age book. You really got to make sure that the alignment is pretty good. You know, if you have one of those covers where it's pushed out and the book is actually wider than it's meant to be because of how it was stapled or, you know, what's happened over time, it's such a tight fit. Also, if you've got any nicks or tears along the spine, it's such a tight fit as you're sliding it in. If you're not super careful, you're gonna cause further tears or damage to the book. So just be safe with your silver books. I tried a couple and I just was not confident that I was going to get them in. This Fantastic Four, although it's got staining and stuff like that, the spine on it is actually in decent shape for what it is. So I slid it in there with no problems. As long as you're not sliding your silver books in and out, then you're fine. It just, they don't slide in as easily as they do if you're just putting it in a bag and board. Obviously, this is a little bit more firm. But the big differentiator here between this and something like a top loader is just the fact that it snaps closed. And like I said, it's easy. It just works. It pops open and close, and it feels secure when it clicks in place. Compared to a top loader, having the header close certainly improves the ability to protect your keys. They also let you print off labels, which I haven't tried yet. It apparently goes along the top here. And at first I thought it's just a nice touch, but trying too hard to be a slab when I'm not sure that that's the market comparison that we're doing here. But when I put this into a short box to see how it fits, and it fits perfectly, it makes total sense. Having those headers or label just makes archiving so much easier. Top loaders cannot compete with that aspect of the comic capsule. The other thing is the ability to mount these directly to your wall. It's a nice addition, but personally, I don't think these can compete with a proper CGC or CBCS slab. Maybe not even the comic display frames. I did mention a giveaway, so leave a comment below whether or not you use top loaders, or if you could see yourself using one of these, and include the hashtag #1over or #never. That's all you got to do to enter. So far, it all sounds pretty good, right? These features, which are a general improvement as a protective sleeve, aren't worth much of anything if the quality is poor. As you saw when I unboxed it, I don't know. Is the quality there? It's certainly deflating to have 2 of my 3 slabs in the initial shipment broken. Hopefully it's just an odd occurrence. With these new ones that they've shipped out, there's no problem. Everything is perfectly fine. This black one is not bowing at the back. None of the tabs are broken. So far, opening and closing these headers has been fine. The hinge through the plastic is potentially a stress point. That could be detrimental if repeatedly opened and closed. The plastic feels sturdy enough. It certainly feels dense enough to protect your comics, but let's see. Since one was already broken, I decided I would drop it and try to break it and see what happens. Now, it's not entirely an even test since there is pre-existing damage, but we can at least see if it can take any punishment or if it will be Crack City. Let's go. So I undo a drop test and see how this goes. So I did throw in a book here. So we've got Robin. Now, the book's already damaged, so I don't care. But there's no rips or tears or anything in the book, so we'll see when we drop this if it actually does anything to protect it. I know the slab's already compromised, but hopefully this gives us an idea when we do a drop test how it looks. 2, 1. And what do we got? All right, so the lid did pop open. But like I said, when I was testing the hinge, this wasn't sitting flat anyways. That's because of how the slab's already damaged. Otherwise, it didn't take any extra damage. 3, 2, 1. No cracks in the front just yet. One flat, 3, 2, 1. Spots where the tabs are still in place, everything actually seems fine there. So I would say passes a drop test. All right, so first, the hinge that I thought might be a problem on this one, I opened and closed this thing for 15 minutes straight, hundreds and hundreds of times. I was pretty certain it would eventually give after the continuous stress. It's a bit easier for me to open it now than it is on one of these newer ones, but honestly, it's totally fine. It's clicking closed, it's sealed, the comic's not sliding out. There's nothing wrong, it didn't split. I kind of thought it would split along this back crease here, but it doesn't even feel distorted. I don't know what they've done, but there's some good engineering going on with this hinge. Now, for the falls. Well, you kind of exactly saw the results. I think they did a pretty good job. The only damage was where there was already damage on the back, which was already a weak point, but the comic inside came out unharmed. I tried to drop it onto multiple angles to see what would happen on the undamaged area, and the result was nothing. So I'm actually shocked by these. I don't know why, but honestly, I was underwhelmed when I first opened them. But after using them for a few days, I really like these. They just do what they're advertised to do. They're built well, and they will certainly protect your comics as far as I can tell. They look better than top loaders, they have more clarity, and you can display them, either like a slab with a slab holder or directly on the wall. But the fact that they're fit into a box and have a closing lid that you can print a label for is kind of the sealer for me. So you do pay a premium for these. They cost me about $14 Canadian each, which is about $12 US. Now for comparison, a pack of top loaders can be had for about $35. To get a 10-pack of the Comic Capsule, it's going to cost you $100 more than that. That is definitely premium. Like all these products that I've tried lately, and even the ones that I've liked, this is the big barrier. The cost to performance compared to something like a top loader is, you're at a premium price for sure. However, I have to say, I still really like this product for what it is. I won't be using these across my whole collection because that would be insanity. However, I probably will be ordering more of these for keys that I'm not intending to submit for grading. The books that I want to keep pristine and archived, and I can feel comfortable in their safety packed away in a short box in a comic capsule. It's like an extra layer of security. Now, like I said earlier, I've got an extra one of these, so I'm going to give it away. If you're interested in winning one of these with a cool comic inside, leave that comment I mentioned earlier down below. I will only be selecting a subscriber, so make sure you're subscribed here and over on Instagram. If you found this review helpful, I do this stuff across the channel as well as other unboxings and comic opinions. I suggest you go check out the review I just did of Comic Skins and the EGS new grading company that wants to challenge CGC and CBCS for dominance. Those will be linked up here and down below, and I'll catch you in the next video.